Let's look at a passage from A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. This story is set in an old decaying house, and we call this kind of story, the genre of the story, a Gothic story. It's like many of the horror stories that we watch for fun on TV and in film today, and Poe's famous short story, The Fall of the House of Usher, in which a decaying old house is a symbol for decay in the culture, decay in the character, and general decay in the society. Emily has died. It's the first sentence of the story. When Miss Emily Grierson died, our whole town went to her funeral. And notice that this one word tells us that the narrator is narrating in the first person plural, the we of the pronouns, okay? And that first person plural makes the town act like kind of a chorus in Greek tragedy, or a commentator on the tragedy of Miss Emily's life. The men go for respectful affection for a fallen monument. So they think of Emily as a monument, much like the statue of a Confederate general in the town square of a town like Jefferson in Yakawatawpha County, Faulkner's fictional county in Mississippi. And the women want to see her house, the inside of their house, which has been forbidden up until her death. And let's take a look at how Faulkner describes her house. It was a big, squarish framed house that had once been white. So this house is past its prime. It's falling apart. It's just decaying. It looks a lot like the house in the picture, except that it has cupolas and spires, that is, towers coming off of it, much like many of the Victorian houses that you might see in San Francisco. This particular house has the scrolled balconies, and he uses an interesting phrase here, the heavily lightsome style of the 70s, that is the 1870s, in which this architecture was popular. It is not a plantation house. It does not represent the Old South in that way, but it is a house for the generation after the Civil War. And it was at one time our most select street. That is, it was a very fine neighborhood, but now it's not. Now it has fallen apart, and garages and cotton gins is the tool Eli Whitney invented for cleaning cotton for manufacture. So it's an industrial neighborhood, and they had encroached and obliterated. Okay, so there's a bigger sense of decay going on. Even the august or very famous names of the neighborhood. And Miss Emily, like her house, is the last survivor of an older society. Only Miss Emily's house was left. We see a little bit of her personality in the house with its stubborn and coquettish decay. That is, the house is portrayed as feminine, it's portrayed as stubborn and coquettish or flirtatious. And it's an interesting idea that Faulkner uses, that the decay itself is flirtatious. And again, we see the details of that industrial neighborhood, the wagons and the gasoline pumps. And the house is now an eyesore among eyesores. So that decaying house becomes the central symbol of a society that no longer exists. And Faulkner points out that Miss Emily has now gone to join the representatives of those, and he repeats the word august, and it's always an important sign when an author repeats a name or a word in a sentence, where they lay in the cedar bemused, and Faulkner has these wonderful words that he puts together, cedar being the wood for coffin, and bemused, that is, it is uncertain why it's there, cemetery among the rank and anonymous graves of Union and Confederate soldiers who fell at the Battle of Jefferson. So Jefferson isn't a real town, and it's a fictional town that Faulkner made up, but it is representative of the town, towns that would have grown into being and decayed after the Civil War, as there is a change in social class. The old aristocracy is decaying, and a new middle-class industrial society, the society with cotton wagons and gasoline pumps, is developing. Miss Emily had been a tradition, a duty, and a care, a hereditary obligation of the town. And that takes us back to the older society, the society of genteel chivalry, where a older spinster, and Miss Emily was officially not married at this point in the story. We don't know about her love life as we start the story. And that is because Colonel Sartoris, the symbol for the old Southern aristocratic society, in 1894 had decided that she had a dispensation for her taxes. Notice the sexism in this society. That is, there's the sexism against the aristocratic women, where they could not take care of themselves and therefore had to be taken care of by the men in the town. And there's also the racist sexism that no Negro women should appear on the street without an apron. This is one of the Jim Crow laws of this period. And Miss Emily, who is stubborn and proud, would not, like her house, would not have accepted charity. So Colonel Sartoris invents a tale that says the town owes her the money and prefers her to repay it by not remitting her taxes. And Faulkner's last comment, showing how silly this is, only a man of Colonel Sartoris's generation and thought could have invented it, and only a woman, more sexism in the story, could have believed it. So this passage takes us into the social class world of both the old society with its aristocracy, with Colonel Sartoris and the Griersons, and the new world, which is replacing it, the world of middle-class industrial society. And Emily is the last living relic of the former.